Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV. The website of the famous British newspaper, the Daily Mail, published a press report highlighting the advantages of travel to Egypt for the UK tourists. There was also mention of the benefits of spending a longer than usual vacation at a low cost, calling on the British to escape the cold weather in the United Kingdom during winter and spend the entire time in Egypt. The report described Egypt as a time machine where visitors travel through the tourists and archaeological sites forwards and backwards across thousands of years. And in this context, dear viewers, we are honored to host our distinguished guest, Dr. Yahya Abdel, a tourism expert. A very good day, sir, and it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
In today's episode. Sir, you heard my introduction.
Yes,
Your motto, please.
Uh-huh.
Your motto?
Well, really, this is, extremely beneficial for us because not only, the British publications, and Daily News, but we have the CBS, we have the NBC, we have the BBC as well, National Geographic. All of the world media has been highlighting Egypt, since the past 6 months, that it is a must-see destination. And there was, internationalalliance.com, held a workshop in Malta, and they ranked 25 destinations worldwide, and Egypt ranked 3. So really, world media is doing an excellent job through promoting Egypt to its viewership, to its readers, and this is, next and supporting the strategic planning and the promotional plans of our Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities.
Dr. Abdel, why is Egypt every year ranked as the must-see country?
Oh, we are blessed, by our, location, by our heritage, by our culture, by our antiquities. Egyptians, are so hospitable, and visitors like to come and meet them and chat with them. We have an excellent, diverse cuisine. We have, shopping locations, entertainment, sports. So Egypt,
in addition, of course, to the low cost.
Of course, exactly. That goes to mention, the budget prices that we offer. That's why I met just visitors from Turkey last week and asked a young man studying medicine, why did you came? He says, round trip on charter flights was 40 euros. So this is, the most, affordable you can get worldwide. And that's why we have great numbers of visitors around the clock, and inshallah we'll be making great targets this year.
Hopefully, sir. Sir, would you shed more light on Egypt's most touristic potential?
It is great and is growing, Dr. Ahmed Isa, Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, last week, he mentioned that, there was an increase of 44% in the early 6 months of this year versus last year. This is valued at 2 million visitors. So inshallah, by end of December, we'll be scoring 15 million visitors, and then we'll look forward more to score in 2024.
How far from your point of view, sir, can we attract new markets and open new gates for the markets we are already dealing with?
Well, I was interviewed yesterday and talking about Luxor, for example. We receive now daily, from 8 to 10,000 visitors going to the Karnak, to Luxor, to Queen Hatshepsut Temple, all these sanctuaries. This is, extremely large number, and the Nile cruises we have. So this is plus because now we have many visitors in the Red Sea region, resorts, they do daily trip to Luxor, and then we have an excellent network of airlines that produces, to Sphinx Airport, we get 50 flights per week. And Hurghada we get 90 flights per week. And Hurghada Airport, Sharm el-Sheikh and Luxor are the 3 most dense, and busy airport in Egypt receiving international flights.
Okay, perfect, sir. Sir, how do you assess tourist flow into the country, and do you believe that classical tourism is back on the correct track again?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, we've been for 2 years, since the end, of this pandemic that stopped us from growing for 2 years. So, and remember, there's another factor that the visitors like to love in Egypt because of its culture, heritage, it's in the subconscious of mankind. Because of the corona pandemic, there was a pent-up demand. That means people couldn't travel for 30 months. So once they have the time, the means, the facilities, the accessibility, that's why we'll be having more travel forward coming to Egypt from international generating markets, inshallah.
Sir, historically, the easiest way to travel through Egypt is Nile cruises that have been carrying visitors between Luxor and Aswan for well over a century. Nile cruises is a journey not just through land, but through thousands of years of history, culture, religion, and architecture. Your intake on this, sir?
Since millennium, cruising the Nile was like the lifeline for the Egyptian travelers, explorers, adventurers, and traders, and they used to cruise through the Rosetta branch of the Nile, the Rashid one that we call, and the international liners would come 17th, 18th century, and it was like the by the time the Waverly, and by the time there was no gasoline, and it was very classic. And we remember even Agatha Christie, she wrote novels about that. I mean, on cruising the Nile, and aspects of it with her drama. So they would go all the way from Rashid, from the Mediterranean to Rashid, and then go up to Cairo, visit everything, the pyramids, and go up to Minya, Asyut, Suhag, and then go to Luxor and Aswan, and they end up in Aswan. And that cruise classically would take 3 months. Now we have, it's not 3 months anymore. It's 4 nights, 5 days cruises, because, of the time and cost factor. And we have over 200 Nile cruises on the Nile, and we have new types, again, like a Felucas, an exclusive one that takes a package of 15 to 35 passengers, and they fly in on their charter jets. So it's become so diverse and so colorful. And again, we have another factor apart from the Nile cruises. In the Nile, we have in the Aswan Lake as well, Nasser Lake. We have a very limited number of cruises, and considering the environmental aspects of having cruise in Nile, because the Aswan Lake is one of the major sources of fresh water for Egypt.
Sir, the world awaits the inauguration of the Grand Egyptian Museum, the GEM, of course. Do you believe the GEM will change the tourism map?
Well, it's going to enhance, international travel arrivals to Egypt, because the whole world, for about, 3 or 4 years, has been lining up. I know travel writers and photographers, and will admit that they contact me, and they say, you'd like to come to Egypt and make a preview for our audiences about, what they're going to watch when they come and have, for example, 5,000 pieces, the whole collection of King Tut under our roof, so many artifacts. And this is our gift, to the 23rd century, we have, all these, artifacts, and everything, is going to be under one roof. And it had a very substantial budget to develop, and it's going to be accessible. It's like a walking way promenade to the necropolis and Great Giza pyramids. So really it's going to be wonderful, and you need to spend 4 or 5 days at least, because it has over 150 artifacts under one roof, which is extremely
How
rich
long,
in
sir?
time. From at least 3 to 5 days, to cover 150 artifacts, so unique. And there are artifacts that's an antique, pieces.
And the
that's going
entire
to be
museum, how long does it take to visit?
2.5 days.
2.5 days?
Yeah, it has over, it have 100,000, 120,000 artifacts as well. But many of the artifacts and the original ones has been moved to the Grand Egyptian Museum. So now you need to go to Al Fustat Museum, Civilization, Cairo Museum in Tahrir.
Dynamic, you mean?
Hmm?
You mean the dynamic?
Yes, but
the
it's
National
located
Museum of Civilization?
exactly, but it's located in Fustat, so it takes you promote it through the region, Fustat Museum. And it's one of the earliest capitals we have in Egypt as well.
Of course, Masr al-Adima.
Yes. So really, we have now a revolution in the number of museums we have. And remember, the airlines are very important. You need an extensive network of airlines. 95% of our 15 million visitors, they've come via air. So we need to have an excellent, and Egypt Air now is covering at least 100 destinations worldwide.
Okay, sir, how do you view the tourism ministry's policy of integrating beach tourism and culture tourism?
Well, this has been very successful because I already mentioned, like we have 10,000, like visitors to the Egyptian temples and tombs and Valley of the Kings, Valley of the Queens in Luxor. And 1/3 of them, they travel on a daily trip, like coaches and vans, like from Hurghada, from Marsa Alam, from Sharm el-Sheikh to come and enjoy the classic heritage and archaeological treasures and antiques of Egypt. So this is like really a blending the beach resort visitors and vacationers with the classic ones, which accounts for 20% of worldwide tourism, the culture and heritage and archaeological tourism.
Every year we have a new archaeological discovery that rewrites history, sir. How, from your point of view, can we invest these discoveries?
Well, this is really like very, like joyful, news for us, because from time, like the whole land of Egypt, 1 million square kilometers, whenever you dig, you are going to find antiquities, artifacts, archaeological finds, because Egypt has like 5 to 6 layers of civilization, and each one offers, like whenever you go for excavations. Currently in Egypt we have 25 expeditions that goes on archaeological finds and digging. So this is, moving the world media about new discoveries and new ideas and new concept of how magic and how wonderful and how adventurous with that a great ancient Egyptian civilization.
Sir, do you believe that holding cultural, sports and entertainment events and archaeological sites would encourage youth to know more about their heritage?
Definitely, like we have now excellent, like athletes in Egypt. They win like gold medals worldwide in all fields, fencing, horse riding. There's an Egyptian gentleman now, he won the Queen Elizabeth, like gold club, like in Canada. So we have, like top athletes currently, and we hold competitions and events in Egypt which gather world media and athletes and superstars and investments. So really sport is a great, like dynamic way to promote and analyze tourism and make it a great success nationwide.
How do you read the idea of using the power of sports fans in promoting tourism?
Well,
Like Mo Salah.
yeah, exactly. Like he's a top athlete in the world. He goes to New Alamein, he goes to Marsa Alam and Sharm el-Sheikh, and then he goes regionally to Greece, like to the islands over there. So he's a great promoter, and he created a positive image with the, English football players that he's mixing with, and he really he cast a very positive image for us Arabs and Middle Eastern in Europe, and he is held and recognized and respected worldwide.
How about the power of the sports fans?
Well, it's very powerful, of course, because like they can force the management clubs, like to adopt the policies, their pattern of life, and that we have currently.
How do you read, sir, the idea of using the power of sport fans in promoting tourism?
Fans, like they can have a great emphasis and impact on the management of the clubs. Like they can direct them, pressure them, because they finance, like the games, what types, of players they like to keep, what ones, like to switch, and maybe they be capable, because some of them are represented on the board of directors of the sporting club.
The impact of this on tourism.
Yes, on tourism, like look, when we have like the Qatar, World Cup, and this is created, it made Qatar, like a hold house name, and then the same thing happens, like in Italy and Federation, European Federation, that has been won by Manchester City. They won, like Cup, Premier League, and then the European Federation. So that generates, revenues, because hundreds of thousands of fans, they follow their teams when they have final games and cups, and countries worldwide, they try to target this to promote tourism as well.
Yahya Abdel, touristic expert, we thank you very much for joining us in today's episode of Nile Cruise.
Thank you so much, and really I enjoyed this episode in this beautiful location and with our friends and guests and administration as well.
Thank you so much, sir. Dear viewers, stay tuned. I'll be right back.